did a new Walkman. That really dates the story. We get arrested. The cops think because we had long hair, we must be carrying drugs.
He was regarded as one.
I believed that we were about to fall off a precipice and that we needed a new Walkman that actually dates. He was considered one of the most gifted bass players in heavy metal with his avant-garde style and fearless approach, but his tragic death in 1986 remains one of the band's darkest chapters for Lars Ulrich. The story goes that we get arrested, and the police assume that we must be carrying drugs because we had long hair. When Metallica first discovered Cliff Burton in 1982, he was playing in the San Francisco band Trauma. What immediately caught their attention was Burton's unconventional approach to bass. He wasn't just keeping rhythm, he was creating melodies and pushing the instrument beyond what most metal musicians were doing at the time. His use of effects like distortion and the va-voix pedal gave his playing a character that felt fresh and unique. Bringing Burton into the band wasn't an easy process. Cliff's loss has always been a difficult subject because Lars has rarely discussed his thoughts about Burton, preferring to let his music speak. Cliff made it apparent that in order for him to join Metallica, they would have to move from Los Angeles to San Francisco, where he believed the scene was more genuine and supportive of their music. In retrospect, it was agreed that this move would not only secure the band's lineup but also connect them with a thriving Bay Area thrash metal scene, which became crucial in their rise. Burton's influence was felt right away, as Lars Ulrich has stated in interviews that Cliff brought a different energy to the band that was based on both his technical prowess and his wide range of musical influences. Burton's passion for musicians like Thin Lizzy Rush and even classical composers helped broaden Metallica's creative direction. Cliff was the first to demonstrate to us that music didn't have to be fast and aggressive, according to Ulrich. Metallica's debut album Kill Them was influenced by Cliff. Even though a lot of the material had already been written before Burton joined, his contributions to the songwriting process went beyond solos and technical prowess. For example, the song Anesthesia Pulling Teeth featured a bass solo that Ulrich later described as mind-blowing, which distinguished him from other bass players of the time and showed that Metallica wasn't afraid to experiment. However, Burton's contributions went beyond solos and technical prowess, as he swiftly emerged as a key voice in the songwriting process, assisting the band in structuring their songs in ways that were more dynamic and complex. James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich would bring in riffs and ideas, but Cliff would frequently suggest changes that added depth, whether by rearranging sections or incorporating melodic elements on Ride the Lightning. This was particularly evident in songs like The Call of Cthulhu, where his contribution to the band's layered melodic tone helped redefine what Metallica could do as a unit in spite of his skill. Although Burton was renowned for his quiet confidence that didn't need frequent affirmation, he wasn't known for being particularly outspoken or domineering in the band dynamic. Lars Ulrich was once included in the Metallica documentary about their classic albums. Cliff didn't need to brag or talk loud, he just let the music speak for itself, and that was plenty as Metallica moved into their next stage. More than just a bassist, Burton was a creative force who gently propelled the band toward their full potential without ever overshadowing the group's collective effort. On September 27, 1986, Metallica's momentum came to a sudden and devastating halt while traveling through Sweden as part of their European tour to promote Master of Puppets. Their tour bus skidded off an icy road, overturning in the early hours of the morning. Cliff Burton, who was only 24 years old, was tragically killed in the crash, which sent shockwaves through the band and the metal community as a whole. In later interviews, such as one with Metal Hammer magazine, Lars Ulrich has frequently avoided going into detail about that morning's events, characterizing it as a blur of bewilderment and disbelief. He reflected, "There's no textbook on how to deal with something like that, it just shattered everything." The immediate aftermath of the crash plunged the band into chaos at that point. Burton's death was an unimaginable loss. As Metallica continued to advance through the ranks and establish their reputation for relentless touring and close-knit band dynamics, losing someone as crucial as Burton not only called into question the trajectory but also endangered the group's cohesiveness. While the band was overcome with grief in the weeks after the tragedy, decisions had to be made because the harsh reality of being on tour meant that stopping completely wasn't an option if they wanted to maintain momentum. Ulrich later acknowledged that there was a part of him that questioned whether Metallica could or should continue at all. The decision to move forward was not without internal conflict, as some fans criticized Metallica for seeking Burton's replacement so quickly. However, the band members themselves have repeatedly stated that their willingness to carry on was more about honoring Cliff's dedication to the music than ignoring their grief. Metallica started auditioning for a new bassist just a month after the crash, and Ulrich has said that those weeks felt like a blur, going through the motions but nothing feels real. Hetfield mentioned in the documentary from 2004 we had to continue for him even if we weren't as vocal because some sort of monster Cliff wouldn't have wanted us to quit. He was all about the music. Ulrich also expressed this sentiment, saying that perseverance was the only way to make sense of such a senseless loss for Lars. Though their relationship wasn't characterized by a close personal friendship, there was mutual respect, especially in their creative processes, and the loss was especially complicated. Burton's absence created an indisputable gap in the band's dynamic and in the music-making process. His insistence on venturing into uncharted musical territory had become a pillar of the group's development, and Ulrich admitted that it was impossible to find someone who could even partially fill that role. Although Jason Newsted's arrival signaled a new era for Metallica, their thoughts were constantly on the edge of their seats due to Burton's absence. The vulnerability and naivete that defined Metallica's early years appeared to disappear after the accident, replaced by a sharper, more intense focus on their careers. From this point on, the band became known not only for their music but also for their resilience in the face of tragedy. Burton's death not only affected Metallica as musicians but also hardened them as individuals. This pivotal moment has been characterized by Lars as an undesirable yet defining learning. You discover that things don't always turn out the way you expect them to, and you must keep going no matter how unfeasible it seems. Although Burton's passing was a devastating blow, it also served as a catalyst for the band's survival instinct, influencing how they faced later obstacles in their career. For Lars Ulrich, the memories of that bus crash are still painful, but they also serve as a reminder of what motivates Metallica to this day, their dedication to the music Cliff so fervently believed in. Although Burton passed away, his impact on Metallica persisted as the group developed. According to Lars Ulrich, this wasn't just about his individual contributions, rather, it was about how Burton had radically altered the group's perspective on their own creativity, as Ulrich clarified in a 2009 interview with Classic Rock magazine. Since one of the most obvious examples of Burton's lasting influence appeared on Injustice for All, the first album released by Metallica after his death, during which Jason Newsted joined the band as a bassist, Cliff taught us that you don't have to be afraid to take risks. The album's complex arrangements and dark tonal shifts bore Burton's mark, especially in songs like "To Live Is to Die." In a recent interview with Ultimate Classic Rock, Ulrich noted that Burton's ability to think beyond heavy riffs and thrash intensity had shaped his own approach to drumming, making him more aware of dynamics and composition. This instrumental track included lyrical fragments written by Burton himself prior to his death, making it both a tribute and a reminder of the depth he brought to their music. Beyond songwriting, however, what Burton left behind was a mindset that challenged the band to constantly explore and refine their sound in addition to his contributions. The band's transition from raw thrash metal to a more expansive sound was influenced by Burton's constant reminder to consider the wider picture in music. Burton's creative ethos also became a guiding principle for Metallica's legacy, as Lars Ulrich acknowledged that while the band didn't discuss Cliff's influence frequently, it was always present in their choices. Cliff never had the ability to look back. Although Ulrich said in Metal Hammer, 2013, that he would still encourage us to try new things and consider novel concepts if he were still with us, his introspection hasn't been without its moments of self-criticism. There has been public discussion regarding the lack of bass in Injustice for All, which many see as a sign of disregard for Newsted's contribution to the group. Lars has openly addressed these criticisms, stating that, in Ulrich's own words, the decision wasn't a slight toe but rather the result of their grief-driven insistence on putting the guitars and drums above everything else. We were still figuring out how to continue without Cliff. Perhaps we didn't get it exactly right, but we did everything we could to respect what we believed he would want. Finally, Cliff, even after several decades, Metallica's work is still influenced by Burton's creative legacy. From their desire to attempt new things to the way they arranged their songs, his philosophy is still subtly but persistently present in their craft, according to Lars Ulrich. Decades after his death, Burton's influence isn't about taking a nostalgic look back but rather about bringing forward an outlook that constantly aims for something better. Although Metallica rarely discusses Cliff Burton's impact in great detail, the band has found methods to pay tribute to him both publicly and personally throughout their career. For Lars Ulrich, this is about honoring Burton's contributions as part of the band's legacy in a modest and respectful manner, not about nostalgia or moping over what was lost. One such tribute is Cliff Burton Day, which was established in 2018 and is observed on February 10 in Cliff's hometown of Alama County, California, in honor of Burton's birthday. The amount of love and support for Cliff over the years has been incredible. It's a reminder of how much he meant not just to us but to so many people around the world, Lars said in his appreciation of the local community and fans. Burton's presence has occasionally been referenced during Metallica's live performances, even though the band doesn't specifically dedicate entire songs or sets to him. Orion and other instrumentals frequently seem like silent homages. In a recent interview with Mojo, Lars Ulrich once said that performing these songs live keeps Burton's spirit alive. When we play a song like Orion, it's difficult not to consider who helped make those moments come to life. It's as though he's still with us in those notes beyond the stage. Metallica made sure Burton's contributions were more permanently remembered within the metal community. His induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2009 alongside the band was another moment of recognition. The band briefly considered his significance and influence, with Jason Newsted even sharing kind words about the inspiration Burton provided despite never having met him in person. Lars, as always, opted for a more subdued recognition that honored Cliff's memory without making it a major event, possibly more so than any public remembrance. The band's ongoing development has been Metallica's biggest tribute to Burton Ulrich, who has said in interviews over the years that the band's openness to experiment with new ideas is partly a result of Burton's unrestrained inventiveness. Cliff would not approve of us playing it safe as a band. In 2013, Lars told Metal Hammer that the greatest tribute we can give to his legacy is to keep taking chances.